Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel, your home for NFL talk here on YouTube. My name is Mike. Guys, I'm continuing my free agent rumors and analysis videos. Again, every day I come at you with a video like this, so be sure to subscribe if this is your first time visiting my channel here. And, you know, a new year of NFL free agent rumors, but we're talking about a lot of the same guys that we were last year, guys who were franchised last year and who are back on the market this year. And Branden Albert comes to mind when I think of a guy like that, a guy who was looking for an extension from the Chiefs last year. They end up taking, of course, Eric Fisher with the first pick overall in the draft. This year, okay, Branden Albert stays at left tackle. What ends up happening here is now you have a situation where Eric Fisher's a little bit more mature. Donald Stevenson played well in spurts for the Chiefs this year. So now Branden Albert's a guy who no one expects the Chiefs to bring back. And, you know, there's 4 good offensive tackles here, most notably left tackles, that will be available here via free agency. I look at those guys as being Jared Veldheer, Jordan Gross, Eugene Monroe, and, of course, Branden Albert. But those other 3 guys, I think I'd be surprised if they're not retained by the clubs they play for now. So you could have a pretty significant market developing for Branden Albert. I look at the Cardinals and the Dolphins to be front runners. You look at the Cardinals probably had consistently the worst offensive line, pass protection-wise, in the league the last 2 years, and the Dolphins just let up 58 sacks. So to me, it's going to be a matter of which team overpays for Branden Albert, because while he's a good starting left tackle, he's going to be in higher demand, and his play has declined. He's gotten banged up here in recent years. He's approaching 30 years of age. One of those teams will overpay for him, the Dolphins or the Cardinals. We'll see who that ends up being. You know, moving from the offensive side of the ball, the offensive tackle spot, to the quarterback position. And a guy who's not a free agent, but a guy who's drawing a lot of attention in the trade market is Kirk Cousins. And to me, I think rightfully so. And reportedly, the Redskins' asking price is the third-round pick. And if it's a third-round pick, and you have teams like the Browns and the Vikings out there that need a quarterback and need to address other needs, I think they should take a serious look at a guy like Cousins. The Browns obviously will have that familiarity between Kyle Shanahan, the new offensive coordinator, and Cousins. All right, so you know he wouldn't mind that move. But especially the Vikings at 8, because I think the Vikings are going to end up the odd man out here. I think the big 3 quarterbacks, Bortles, Manziel, and Bridgewater, are all going to be taken before the Vikings pick. And if I'm them and I can get Cousins for a third-rounder, that's really appealing to me. And when you throw on top of that, the Vikings are also being linked to a guy like a Ryan Mallett. I mean, I don't know. That perplexes me. Why you would rather have Mallett over a guy like Kirk Cousins, who's a little bit more of a dual threat, and a guy who we've seen play. I mean, who's seen Mallett do anything here besides, you know, high-five Tom Brady in the last 3 or 4 years? You know, so I think Cousins is the better option. I think the Vikings would be making a mistake trading for Mallett over Cousins, especially if the asking price for Cousins is as being reported, and it's only a third-round pick. And while I wouldn't like the Vikings to trade for Mallett, what I am on board with them doing is another rumor I heard them linked to today, and that would be them looking into signing Alterraun Verner, the 25-year-old Pro Bowl cornerback who was a Pro Bowler last year, again, with the Titans. You have Jerry Gray, the Tennessee Titans defensive coordinator last year, now the defensive backs coach with Mike Zimmer in Minnesota. And I think that's a natural fit there. And Vikings fans may say, well, we have younger pieces at the cornerback spot already. Yeah, you have Xavier Rhodes, but I'd like to see another younger guy next to him, a guy who's only 25, who has experience, who was a Pro Bowler this year, and I think would fit in most importantly well with the aggressive scheme Mike Zimmer likes to run. So look out for Alterraun Verner to the Vikings. I think is a pretty nice fit there. Again, this all comes back to if they can make the numbers work. Staying in the secondary, Louis Delmas became a free agent, and I think there'll be suitors for him. I think you look at him, he's in that Chris Clemens, Mike Mitchell sort of cluster at the safety position. You know, you have Jairus Byrd, you have T.J. Ward, and then you have all these other guys who are serviceable options and a lot less expensive than obviously Byrd or Ward, who are maybe 2 of the top 5 safeties in the NFL. I put Delmas a shade behind a guy like Chris Clemens, but every bit the equal of a guy like a Mike Mitchell. And you hear the Bills linked to Delmas a lot. especially if they can't, obviously, if they can't re-sign Bird, because Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator from Detroit, now with the Bills. But from the Bills, I'm not that excited about Delmas because the Delmas-Schwartz combination didn't really do much in Detroit in the way of pass defense, certainly. But again, just a little bit update on Louis Delmas and how I see sort of the market developing for him. And lastly, I thought I'd touch on something here for my Raiders followers. Have a lot of Raider followers, very loyal fan base, as I think a lot of people know if you go on different message boards or social media. I get a lot of awesome fans on here from all fan bases, but just talking to my Raiders fans here for a second, knowing how devoted you guys are, I know it must be killing you that outside of trying to re-sign Jared Veldheer, which I think is a good move, the only other two things I've heard the Raiders linked to are they may be interested in Matt Schaub or Michael Vick. And to me, that's just depressing. I mean, when is this team going to really develop for the future at quarterback and stick with a guy? Now, they're already deciding, obviously, that Pryor and McGloin are not the way to go. So why not draft a guy and develop him and do it the right way rather than trying these stopgap guys who aren't even that good? I could see if they were that good. Why aren't the Raiders with all this cap space, in the mode or in the mix for a guy like Kirk Cousins? Or heck, I'd rather even have Ryan Mallett than Matt Schaub or Michael Vick. Something new for these fans to look forward to and a guy who could develop into something special. But Raiders fans, let me know what you think of these rumors attached to your team because you have a boatload of cap space. I mean, the Raiders have $60 million in cap space. I've never even heard of that. That's extraordinary. So, guys, let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comments about all these rumors. Let me know other rumors you may be hearing out there. Hit me up on Twitter as well. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, guys. I update this channel, guys, 4 or 5 times a day minimum. It'll be more as we get closer to free agency, the combine next week, and, of course, the draft. So be sure to subscribe. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.